Homeboy. Oh, sweet little boy, no one knew who you were. Orphan aged 8, sent alone to afar, with no passport, birth certificate, no proof of your name. Simply forgotten. What a crying shame. Brother and sisters left behind at the port, I cried just to think what emotion you fought. With no mother or father on a great voyage sent, to a land of pioneering where you were made to relent, to a country so vast its weather severe, you worked like a man for the whip you did fear, telling no soul of your terrible plight, the misfit, the outcast, so now we shall fight, to bring back your honour and make people see that all the home children should now become free, free from the suffering of the stigma they knew, feeling so alone from the hardship you went through. So now we have found you, you'll never again be abandoned in Canada, as the truth will remain. Now this poem comes from my book, God Lent's Child, by Elaine Merrikin. And this is written in honour of my great-great-uncle, John Robert Tuggey, who was one of the 100,000 children trafficked to Canada and sent to farms to be used as farms' hands as young as 5. John was sent to Canada aged 8. Now, amazingly, I had no idea that I had a homeboy in my family. I had no idea at all until my grandmother, Kitty Nichols, passed away. Now, my grandmother had a mother, obviously, called Amelia Rose Tuggey. And I heard tell that she was an orphan, so I set out to find why Amelia had become an orphan. So I wrote a letter to Dr. Bernardo's, and then when I had got the letter back from them, I was absolutely amazed and gobsmacked, to say the least, because I had this photograph of John Tuggey. Now, when I got this letter, it also, with it, had some information on it about. It was talking about what had happened to him in those early years. And this is Alex McKay's report on John Tuggey. It says, we are well pleased with him and asks if he has any disease. The 13th of July, 1891. Mr. McCrae writes, John is not turning out to be a good boy. We'll have to send him back if he doesn't do any better. Then he says, in August 1895, John is so untruthful and dedicated to the use of bad language that Mr. McKay says if he does not improve, he will have to return him. However, he is strong and can work well. He goes to church and Sunday school. And later in the report, it says that in 1899, I gave my heart to Jesus and attended the Presbyterian church. Well, what would have happened to John was when his mother and father died, who were he was George and Mary Tuggey. George was a naval boatswain, and he was on the HMS yacht the Fire Queen taking Victoria to the Isle of Wight. And this was John's mother Mary. So when they both died, it was sent to the Navy and Seamen's Orphanage in Portsmouth with his sisters Alice, Amelia, his brother Thomas, and there was some more. But I don't know why, but John, the youngest, was sent to Canada on the 1st of April 1891 on the SS Sarnia, and he was eventually sent to Alex McKay's homestead. This was Alex McKay's homestead. He'd have lived there, and he would have gone to school, and he went to church but he also had to work the land. This is a picture of the dreaded Nell. She was Ellen Charlotte. She was the eldest of the Tuggey children, or one of the eldest, and obviously they had no money, and so she had to put the children into the home, which left for the other ones a terrible annoyance and anger about Ellen. This is a picture here of the children who would have worked on the land. You can see they're very, very young. And the problem was that those children were treated as misfits, they were treated as outcasts, they were treated as lesser than Canadians. And John, later when I met his grandchildren, they said that John never spoke about that. He never spoke that he came from England, never spoke the fact that he was one of the 100,000 home children. And after he had been working as a farmhand, he then went to join the Canadian Forestry Corps in the First World War. And John was one of the men who laid the foundations of the trenches in Ypres in France. And it was quite sad because many of them joined the forces trying to get home. I don't know whether I'm sure that he would have went back to England, because I think he met his brother Thomas. I'm not quite sure of the story. Here, this is John's wife, Minnie Fumerton, and his two sons, George Wilmot, and that was John Marvin. This was his dental record, so I got quite a lot of photographs of his teeth, as they say, teeth, and his army records. But one of the things that I found really awful during the research was that this is the head of the Institute of the Home, is which the children should be asked these questions. And it talks about the child. Is it moral? Is it religious? Does it keep itself clean and tidy? Is it obedient? Does it understand that Canada is a place where you have to work hard or starve? Is it healthy and strong to farm as a work hand? I mean, imagine today if you'd have said those things there about home children. At this point, I would also like to say that there were some other home children sent to Middleville, and that was Willie Wilson on the Hardings farm, Jimmy St. Clair on Gibson's farm, Bill Pulteney went to Gabriel Peacock's farm. There were some other homeboys that were sent to Middleville, just like John. Well, in 1996 and 1998, I did go back. I did go to Canada, thanks to Anthony Uden and his wife Betty. And this is Len McKay. This is Charlie McKay. They were the descendants of Alex McKay. And this is Rose, Charlie's friend. Lovely, lovely, lovely people. And I went to visit the McKay homestead. Very emotional at the time. This is another grandson, Ken Bowes, and he was showing how to tap into the maple syrup, which is what John would have done in the trees to make maple syrup. This is the picture of the ice storm, and at the end of the book that I wrote, God Lends Child, about my experience, this is me at John's grave, and also these are some of the pictures of when I was there. This is Wendy Linsky and Joan Ferguson, who were John's grandchildren. Here is Florence and Wilbert Monroe, because John also worked for Wilbert's father, as a young boy. It was a wonderful time.